Hi, my name is Michael.G and I have another video for you. Actually did two today because yesterday I was so exhausted. So this video is about the lockdown. Is God giving you what you want with the lockdown? That's the question. Yep, question. And why would God give you a why would God allow this to happen, let's say? Or what's going on? Well, let's step back a little bit. The digital age has done something really incredible, and that is that it has allowed evil to really proliferate more than ever before. The things that you couldn't do before for evil, you can definitely do now. And it's some people think it's good. It's good. Okay, like Apple, the Apple company, who wanted to make sure that everybody, when Steve Jobs, Apple company wanted to make sure everybody bought their Apple products, right? And he calls, his Apple. Remember the MGTOW guys, Apple, Steve Jobs, right? He created Apple, but he had Apple with a bite out of it, you know, and that is man in the Garden of Eden. That's interesting, right? Of Eden. Took the bite out of the apple, even though it doesn't exactly say apple. It says apple, I my desire, but in Solomon's it doesn't actually say apple, but we get the picture. Now, where am I going with this? Well, with Steve Jobs and other computers and things with the computers, you get these iPads, you get the phones, and every day people are holding their phones and their eyes are glued. They're glued to this phone. So the reality that man and woman's head is centered on the phone and on the computer. The computer is based on quantum energy. The computer is also based on feminine energy. You cannot go down a street in Manhattan or any city without, or busy street, without almost bumping into these zombie apocalypse phone holders, because they're so not paying attention to the world. So God's going to give you what you want sometimes, but when He gives you what you want, you didn't really like it. So what do you want? I want the digital age. Okay, this is technology. This is progress, and now everybody's spending tremendous. Kids, especially the kids that are glued to it. If you tell them your Wi-Fi's out, forget it. They might murder the parents. They can't play their PlayStations or their Warcraft or whatever games they are that suck up all their time, all their energy, everything. Especially for the child, all the energy is glued to this. That's it. This part of the body is not being used to go run around. All the focus is on that. Okay, we go to today. Now today, all of a sudden, everybody's on lockdown. And now, there's this mysterious virus. Here's the world. There's no people outside anymore. You can't go out. You gotta stay 6 feet apart, if you find anybody. You're losing the reality. Because everybody's told now you gotta be in your house. You can't go no place. You gotta be in your house. We have drones. Stay 6 feet away. Drones. Stay 6 feet away. You can't interact. Everybody's on the computers anyway. So God's like, all right, screw it. You want to be on your computers? No problem. I'll take your reality away. Your reality is going to go away. So if Einstein was relativity, and we live in relativity. That's a relativity. If you're going to take away relativity, that means you're going to get quantum instead. Quantum. Again, the feminine rising. With the quantum energy, you're going to get chaos. You're not going to get a straight answer. And it's not about the bad thing about women, but sometimes when you talk to women, they can't give you a straight answer on certain things because they're more feeling oriented. So you gotta kind of get it out of them or something. You can't make a decision because you're indecision. Feminine is more indecision because what the feminine does doesn't have the head. It imagines all the different scenarios, and then they get crippled by that imagination of all the different scenarios, and then they can't output with a decision. So we have this now coming into our reality. You got the CNN, you got the Fox News, you got ABC, you got CBS News, and all of them have different perspectives. It's like, who's telling the truth? Why aren't they telling the truth? You have indecision, you have all this going on, and everybody has to have those masks on. And those masks, we don't know if they're working, but they're supposed to protect us. Do you know when people normally wear masks? When there's either a hazardous material or when the doctors are treating a patient that has an open wound. The open wound means that any bacteria or anything that can come from your mouth now can get into the wound, and now you're going to give some sort of parasite or infectious or whatever to that body that you're working on. Well, if the feminine is rising, then the consciousness of that understanding is going to permeate into our reality. You're wearing masks because, in a sense, you don't want to infect the body. As if your body's open. Because now the quantum energy or the feminine energy is coming into our existence, and all the benefits, or not really benefits, but you're going to get what you want. You don't want reality? No problem. We'll give you quantum. Because remember, the computer works on quantum energy. So if you understand how the computer works, and then you look around and see what's going on around here, you'll be like, wow, they're doing kind of the same thing. They're refreshing, they're deleting. If you don't like something, Control Alt Delete, or just delete it and it's gone. So if you don't like this, horse statue with the guy on top who was some kind of whatever he did in history, no problem. We grab him by the neck and we pull him down. We get rid of him. We delete. We delete because we can do that in quantum. Quantum can delete. You can't delete that easy in relativity. Keep that in mind. You cannot delete that easy in relativity. When you see that tree, when you're in a backyard or someplace and you see that tree, that nice fluffy tree you got there, whatever, you go to sleep, the next morning that tree is there. You go to sleep for 365 days. Unless that tree dies or somebody cut it down, that tree is there. Relativity says you're going to stay. Quantum says you got to go. Quantum says that it can come into reality and they get canceled out. And we are getting into that now. This blindness is permeated our culture now, and terror. The woman is in more fear than of security. Woman has fear of security, and a lot of times they gravitate towards men that have more money because they want to make sure they're secure. Now, that not talking about the ones that just want to have Prada bags. That's another story. But they'll generally gravitate with someone that can provide, which is totally 100% because she's not supposed to move. She's the feminine. My belief, and the Bible is very clear on that, is that the woman representing the torso is supporting the head, and the head has to protect the woman. That's not what's happening in the world today. Also, another part of the quantum part that's coming up the head, the quantum doesn't have a head. The feminine energy has no head, it has a torso. So as the torso, it doesn't kind of realize things like it doesn't comprehend gender as, or better yet, sex. Male and female. You could change that, right? Because now you're in the quantum energy, and the quantum energy says, well, you can just make that decision and just switch it, go back or whatever. All this kind of distortion is what's coming into our reality. So the lockdown now is being imposed from above. The authorities are telling you got to stay home. Personally, if you ask me, I think God's giving you what you want. You don't want the reality. You want to create your own reality in digital. No problem. You can stay home now. You got plenty of time to figure that out. You'll be safe, but you have no food because you got no money to pay for anything. Because we know for sure that there's no way the government's going to be able to keep printing money. One day that money's going to run out, and then what's going to happen? What's going to happen when the money runs out? What's going to happen to all those people that were told to stay home? A lot of people are believing this whole stay home thing, and because our society wants to breed these people. Our society wants to breed these people. The power-rich person does not want to have someone that'll compete against them. They don't want to have a sense of challenge. They don't want to be challenged, especially the rigid. So the best way not to have that is to make everybody just follow orders. Just do your job. Don't think. Just do your job. This type of, let's say, manufacturing of a population is going to have blowback, because you're going to, like I had said before, planes will start falling out of the sky because this guy's working on it and he didn't lock certain nuts and bolts, and the plane comes down. When you're in this position, this person wants to have control over you. In our society now, the people that this person elected, because remember, this is most of the electorate. This is most of society. This is most of society. They'll watch the TV, and we know this because how powerful the media companies are on spinning something, and everybody believes it. So we know that there's a whole bunch of people that blindly listen. They're the people that are going to make sure everybody stays in the house. Put on your mask, stay home, lock down, because Big Brother said it. Because Big Brother is smarter than you are, or maybe they're just in control. So God's allowing the evil to really happen. We have the masculine wants to be into the feminine wants to be the masculine. You have a reversal. Another thing about this is that we live in space-time. We are heading towards time-space. This is where we're heading towards. Time-space. Or time becomes fluid and space becomes stagnant. That's a really weird situation, but it's got some pretty interesting consequences. It could be your hell. If you're not tied into the light, of truth, consciousness, God, then you're not going to be unified in yourself. And if we went into time space, and for some reason our consciousness is going to be what's the most important for us to have any sort of existence, if you're disconnected, your existence could be absolutely like hell. And we're heading to that, because now everybody's home. Now everybody's going to have to deal with relationships that they don't usually deal with. Usually someone would get married and the woman is home, let's say, and he's out to work. Now they're actually with each other all the time. And all the conflict that has been hidden because they haven't had the chance to be home, now that conflict is boiling inside the house. Boiling inside the house. So we went from space-time to, in a sense, time-space, and now that conflict in the home is causing a lot of grief because the people are not together for the right reasons. When they're not together for the right reasons, and now they're forced to be in proximity all the time, there's going to be anger. There's going to be like real anger here. Be fighting, backbiting. The government and the world of people are just not smart enough to pull this stuff off. The big conspiracy theories. I mean, really, can you really think that you can get a room full of people together and get one cohesive plan in action where it's going to, go out throughout the whole world? Can you picture a room with 30% Trump, like people like Trump, 30% of them like Trump, agreeing on anything? It doesn't happen. This is a spiritual situation. This is spiritual. God's giving you what you want. All right, go ahead. You want it? Go ahead. You want the computers? You want to not be checked into reality? Don't worry, I'll check you out. You don't want the woman? We'll fix it for you. Don't worry. We'll fix it. Probably this video I'd have to expand on it a bit because it's kind of more of like an overall, giving you questions so you can ask yourself, like, how can something be so organized? Actually, it's not, and we know that. They can't be that organized because look what happened when the whole thing with the masks came up and the ventilators or whatever garbage they gave you. They didn't have any. There was no organization. If this was really planned out, then the companies like 3M or somebody who would be powerful enough to cash in on this would have had stockpiles and stockpiles and stockpiles of stuff. And then they would have just sold it instead of running out. So how can a company as big as 3M not be in the know of a potential, plandemic as a conspiracy theory? They would have been in on it. They're big enough to be in on it. They're big enough. But they weren't. Because if they were, then they would have cashed in on it. And even look at the stores that are open. The stores that are open, you got Home Depot or Walmart, they're open because they're essential. But you can go in there and you can buy some garden tools, which is essential. That's essential. But you can't get garden supply store open. They're closed. Garden supply is closed. So we don't want this person, we want that person. We want the faceless. Because remember, corporation is like it's not a single head. The corporation has many people that have the stocks. So you can say, in a sense, a corporation is not an identity. It's a collective. It's a collective that's being controlled. Whereas this garden supply place that is owned by somebody is an identity. We want the corporation. We do not want the identity. We do not want the identity. And we're definitely losing this because God's out of the picture. So if God's out of the picture, light is not the desire to have the light, then you're going to have the chaos. And that's what you're going to get with the lockdown. The lockdown is going to manifest chaos. If you are in your personal light, if you have the light, you're in the now. You're coming into the truth of God. You're coming into the reign of God, where God's in control. You're going to be spared these horrors and terrors. Because one of the things, the worst thing about what's happening in the lockdown is the psychological dealing with being in time space. This is a kind of a understanding of what's coming. If we're going to leave space-time, you're going to be in time-space. You're going to be stuck in your house where you have no space now. You cannot move, but you got time. This is a huge understanding. I cannot tell you what a big understanding this is. If you got this, it's going to just blow up in your mind and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. And then you're going to test it. And then you're going to see. If you test everything that you hear from me, you'll see that it's going to give you more understanding of what's going on. Guaranteed. Because this is all in the Bible. I can pull all this stuff out of the Bible. It's just that when I start pulling out of the Bible, you're going to check out, because then you're going to be worried about every single word. And I'll bring Bible videos that kind of will discuss this. Well, I'll give you one. The blind leadeth the blind into the ditch. Okay? We're headed into that ditch. Leave them alone. Jesus said, leave them alone. That's what Jesus said. He said, leave them alone. The blind will help the blind fall into the ditch. Talks about darkness. The Bible talks about darkness all the time. Talks about light all the time. It talks about pulling you away from the iron furnace. Isn't it funny that Jehovah God will pull you out of the iron furnace? And the scientist says that when the sun is about to blow up, or it does blow up, it's blowing up because it's mostly iron. If you read the language in the Bible, and now the scientist says that the sun is mostly iron, I go, that's a prophetic verse now in the Bible from thousands of years ago. Our eyes opened up to sin after the Garden of Eden. We have to close our eyes to sin, or else when we get to time-space, you're going to be in major terror, which is already happening now. We are heading into time-space. The lockdown is the beginning of time-space, not space-time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you share. God bless.